Today I'm giving you a sneak peek inside the mind of a 20-year card investor, and we're going to walk through 8 recent pickups that I've made, including what I paid for each card and the strategy and the line of thinking that went into making each of these purchases. Now, I bought each of these cards at a specific time for a specific reason, so I don't recommend trying to go and copy these plays. Instead, the point of this video is to help you see how I think and what kinds of things I'm looking for before I make an investment. Now, I'm not going to give you a big boring lecture here, but before we get started, I want to share just a super quick framework that I live by. I call this the why-win framework, and what it is for each investment, I want to have a clear why, so the reason why I think the card's value is going to rise, and then a clear when, so the timeline attached to the strategy. Now, if I'm looking at making a play here and I can clearly explain the why and the when, then that's usually my green light to proceed with that play. But if I'm missing either one, then that's usually my sign that I probably need to pump the brakes, and that might not be the best place for my money, because I don't want to go into an investment just hoping for the best. I always want to have a clear strategy and a clear timeline. All right, the first one we'll talk about is this seasonal timing play I'm making for football right now. So I'm recording this in April when football tends to be at a relative low point compared to where it'll be going into the season. And one of the names that I really like this year is Caleb Williams. So I've picked up quite a few of his Prism rookie cards, graded as PSA 10s. This is just some of the stash here. But for these PSA 10 Silver Prism Variation rookie cards, I've paid an average of about $305 per card. And the reason I like this play is because we tend to see football values dip on the way out of the season and pick up going back into the next season. And Caleb Williams is on an upward trajectory. He had a great second year after a strong rookie season. And I think that the crowd is going to be thinking, okay, this guy's going into year 3 with some momentum. He's going to have an even bigger year in year 3. And a lot of people are going to be interested in his cards for that exact reason. There are other players that fit the same mold. You could look at Drake May, you could look at Bo Nix right now and say similar things about them. So what I'm looking for with this play is guys that are on this kind of upward trajectory for each of the years of their young careers so far. And that's exactly the box that Caleb Williams can check right now. And for that reason, I've been picking up his cards while everyone's focused on baseball. Now, you might be wondering, why would I go after the PSA 10 copies that are already graded rather than trying to grade these myself? And the answer is that I normally would prefer to grade these myself, except the gem rate for this specific card is only 21%, and the gem rate across the entire Panini Prism 2024 product is below 30%, so it's just a really hard set to grade. And while that means I have to pay strong on these cards to actually be able to win them, it also means that when I go to sell them, there are not going to be as many copies that I have to compete with. And speaking of selling, my timeline for a play like this is to sell before the season begins. So when attention returns to the football market going into the season, that's typically when prices hit a relative high point, and that's when I'm looking to sell to the speculators rather than speculating on the players themselves. I like to call this speculating on the speculators. All right, the second play we'll walk through is my latest grading order. So I pulled a few of the cards and we'll walk through the numbers here. So the first one is the Shohei Ohtani. It's a Topps base rookie card, and I paid $120 for this card raw. It sells for about $600 as a PSA 10. The second card is this Aaron Judge rookie card from Topps, and this card I paid $47.50 raw. It sells for about $300 if it gets a PSA 10. And the third one I'll show you today is this Bryce Harper Topps Variation rookie card. I paid $19 raw, and it sells for about $120 as a PSA 10. Now, the first thing I want to call out about these cards is there's big upside with all of them. So for about $200 of raw costs, I'm looking at over $1,000 of PSA 10 upside, if they all get 10s, of course. And I'm only showing you a few of them today, but that's how the rest of the cards in this grading order are too. So targeting higher upside cards is one of the biggest unlocks in all of grading, because you're just going to go so much faster when you target cards where you actually win big when you get the outcome you're looking for and get that PSA 10 grade. Now, the second thing I'll say about this specific order is I do like to deal in some of the up-and-coming rising stars, some of the prospects, but what happens when the season starts is those players become a lot more volatile. So you end up having performance driving card values far more than the hype or the excitement. And that means that if they underperform the market's expectations, values can actually fall off pretty sharply while they're out for grading. And so I'm trying to avoid that situation. And so what I do here is I end up skewing my buying more toward the proven names. So you notice it's Harper, it's Judge, it's Ohtani. It's like 3 of the guys that have multiple MVPs. And so even if they have a down year, we already know who those guys are. The market already loves them. Their values aren't going to fall off of a cliff just because they have a down season. Their legacies are already pretty well cemented. And that makes these guys a little bit safer, especially especially with the longer PSA turnaround times right now. All right, the next one I'll show you is this Mattis Buzelis Red Choice Prism numbered out of 88 as a PSA 10. I paid $255 for this card. Again, I bought this already graded. 2024 Prism was very difficult to grade for NBA as well. And I like this card specifically because it's rare, it's a hard gem, and it's also a team color match. So the red background just looks nice with the Bulls jersey. That's not something I go out of my way to target necessarily, but it certainly doesn't hurt when you're trying to sell on the back end. Now, just like the Williams play for football, this is a seasonal timing play for basketball. So even though the season isn't over as I'm making this recording, Buzelis' season is over for the Bulls, who were terrible this year. The thing that I like about him specifically, though, is that he's still young, he's good, he took a big step forward in year 2, and it looks like he's going to be a big part of what they do moving forward. Now, I might or might not be right about that, but it doesn't actually matter because I'm not holding this card into the season. All I'm looking for is for prices to pick up on the way into the season, and I see that that narrative is there for other people to grasp onto when they're looking to make their bets for who do I want to actually put money into going into the season. So again, other people like to speculate on players. I like to get out ahead of the crowd and think 6 months in advance and speculate on the speculators. Now, the basic pattern is pretty easy to understand, where values dip on the way out of the season and they tend to rise on the way back into the following season. But the hard part is knowing what are the right types of players and the right types of cards to actually target to give yourself the best chance of success with this strategy. And that's why I put together seasonal step-by-step guides for the buying and selling seasons of each of the big 3 sports, including a full breakdown step-by-step of how to execute the strategy, what are the right types of players to target, what are the right types of cards to target that typically fit the mold here, and then even a list of players that I'm personally targeting for this particular buying season. Now, this isn't a guarantee, I can't predict the future, but this is a pattern that's repeated itself year after year for the past 20 years, and so I have a pretty strong feeling it's going to continue to repeat moving forward. If you want to grab your copy of my latest guides, they're one of the many resources that are available inside my membership program, Ignite. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to see full details there, but otherwise, let's get back to the video. So the next one I'll walk you through is kind of a fun one. It's a little bit different than the normal types of plays that I would make, but this is more of a sleeper play, and I've been buying these MrBeast cards. So the famous YouTuber, this is an orange foil out of 25 as a PSA 10. I paid $525 for that card, and I've also picked up quite a few of his base of that same card. So I was picking these up for between $4 and $7, have quite a few of them. And the reason why I like this play is because that's his only card. This guy is one of the most followed human beings on the planet with almost 500 million YouTube subscribers. And the print run on this particular set is only 6,300 copies. So that's all that exists for 500 million subscribers. And of course, not nearly all of those people like cards or care. But what I'm banking on is that at some point, there will be enough of those people that care to drive the values higher. The other thing I like about this play is that Topps now grades really well. So that gives me some optionality where I can either flip these cards raw, or if it ever makes sense to and the money's there in the grades, I can send these off in bulk to get them graded. Now, while I like the upside of this play, there is some pretty clear risk, and there are 3 things specifically. So the first part is that it's a Topps Now card, which just isn't the most popular set. The reason why I don't think that'll matter is because it's his only card. And even if he has cards in the future, this is his only 2025 card. So I see this as the card that's going to be treated as his quote unquote rookie card, even though he's not an athlete. The second thing is he's got a humongous brand, but he's not the most compelling character himself. He's more like game show host energy than a famous athlete or something like that. And so I think that puts a cap on the potential upside. And the third risk here is that this is a very speculative play. So I don't actually have a very clear timeline in mind. I like my buy-in price. I believe in the investment thesis here, but it is unclear when or if this will ever pay off. But at the end of the day, it's a play that I see having relatively low downside and pretty open-ended upside if it actually plays out the way that I think it might. So we'll see. All right, the next one I'll walk you through is a more traditional play. So this is just a straight up prospecting play. So this is a Jesus Made Bowman Chrome Mini Diamond Parallel PSA 10. I paid $154.50 for this card, so pretty much right at market value, maybe a hair below what they've been selling for recently. But why I like this play is because he is absolutely raking in AA as an 18-year-old, and you just don't see that very often. He's also already a top 10 prospect in all of baseball. And if you look at what Connor Griffin cards did last year, they climbed a ton during the season because more and more people started to realize this guy was the real deal. I don't know, I can't predict the future, but I do think Mate has a chance to see a similar trajectory this season. So this is the type of card that I bought to bet on his actual performance, and this is a card I'll look to flip later in the season if his values do continue to rise. So the next one is a combo between a grading play and sort of a market bet, market strength play. So I picked up this Dennis Rodman Bowman's Best Atomic Refractor. These things are really cool looking. And my first goal was to try to grade it because I thought it looked pretty clean from the listing. And even though it's an older card, the seller that I bought it from didn't look like they were a grader based on their other listings. Now, PSA 10 copies of this are probably worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 to $400. So there's pretty clear and obvious grading upside if it were to get a 10. The problem is I got this card in and you won't be able to see it, but right here there's a scratch that goes down the card that will absolutely stop it from getting a 10. So my plan is foiled. I will not be able to grade this card. But that brings in the second strategy that I had in mind, which is the overall market strength. Because if you look at the card market over the past year or two especially, these types of cards have climbed a ton lately. And so even though it's not gradable, it's a card that I still think I'll be able to win on just based on the market climbing the way it is on this type of thing right now. So what I like to do with this type of card is time box it. So I have a firm deadline. And so I'll give myself about 2 to 3 months to move this card. If I move it, great. If I can make that profit, I'll take it. But if not, then it's usually time for me to just move on because I don't want my money tied up in dead inventory. So the key lesson for this one is that if you can stack strategies and give yourself multiple paths to victory, sometimes even if your first play doesn't go the way you want it to, for example, that Rodman having that scratch that I couldn't see in the listing, so it wasn't gradable, of course, but I'm still able to execute my backup plan and give it a couple months to see if I can make a quick flip based on the market strength. All right, 2 more here. So the next one is almost just a pure PC play here, but I do believe in the long-term upside of this set, but I picked up this Chipper Jones Lords of the Diamond PSA 10. I paid $51 for this thing, and the reason I bought this card is because I really liked this set back in the 90s, and it's one of the few PC projects I've got going right now where I'm actually trying to build the set in PSA 10. Now, what's fun about this set is it's got that die-cut jagged edge top, so that gives it lots of different places for damage to occur, and that means that it's going to be a hard set to grade, and there just aren't that many PSA 10s floating around out there. I also believe in this set long term, so even if I don't put together the complete set, the individual cards will likely still do well for the exact reasons why I'm chasing the set, because it's a really nice looking card and PSA 10s are hard to come by. And over time, that combination can lead to values rising. But the key takeaway here, guys, is even if you're someone who's in it for the money, it's okay to enjoy cards and have some fun while you're doing it. All right, last one we'll cover today is this Nolan Arenado Topps Chrome Autograph rookie card, BGS 1010. So there are a couple reasons why I bought this. First of all, I know Arenado's market really, really well. I've done great on his cards over the years, and so I'm pretty familiar with what his stuff sells for, what his market's like, and what a card like this could potentially sell for. And so even though his market is down right now because he's been pretty bad at the plate the last couple of years, he still has enough of a following from what he did the first 10 years of his career as one of the best players in the game. This card is also only Pop 2 in this grade, so it's a tough grade and it's something that gives me a little bit of extra rarity, which means that if someone wants this card, they're going to have to pay my price or just not get the card. So the strategy I'll use here is what I like to call eBay fishing, where I'll put the card out there with the high price and then I'll just wait for offers and see what comes in. The key with eBay fishing is you have to be willing to be patient, because while you can price the item at whatever you want, you can't actually make someone pay your price. So that means you might be waiting a long time to get your price on that card. Now, when you zoom out, I'm probably not going to win on every single one of these plays, but I'll probably win big on some of them. And so the point is to make sure that we have clear, logical explanations and strategies behind every single play. If you want more of this, join us inside Ignite, but otherwise we'll see you on the next video.